Welcome to the Explainer. Picture this, we're at a completely packed BC Place Stadium in Vancouver for a massive 2026 World Cup round of 32 clash. Thousands of passionate fans are singing, shouting, waving flags. The atmosphere was just unbelievably loud, colorful, and electric. It was a kind of environment that absolutely tests the nerves of every single player on the pitch. Because this wasn't just another game, this was a high-stakes, tactical chess match between Switzerland and Algeria. A win means you advance, and a loss means you're packing your bags and going home. So let's dive right in and break down exactly how the Swiss secured a truly historic 2-0 victory.
Now, to really grasp the immense pressure sitting squarely on the shoulders of the Swiss national team, we actually have to rewind all the way back to 1938. Think about that for a second. 1938 was literally the last time Switzerland won a knockout game at a World Cup. Entire generations of incredibly talented players have come and gone without breaking that curse. So, right from the opening whistle, you could feel this massive historical weight hanging over the stadium. Every single pass, tackle, and clearance carried the burden of almost 90 years of tournament history.
Section 1. Absorbing the early pressure. The tactical battle lines drawn by both managers were glaringly obvious right out of the gate. On one side, you had Algeria coming out firing with a fierce, high-pressing strategy fueled by sheer physical aggression. Their entire goal early on was to rattle the Swiss center-backs and force critical passing mistakes right on the edge of the penalty area. And on the flip side, we had Switzerland anchoring themselves entirely on structural discipline and banking on their ability to execute quick, sudden transitions to catch Algeria off guard.
Honestly, in those opening exchanges, Algeria completely suffocated the Swiss. The Algerian midfield was anchored by the immense physical presence of Nabil Bentaleb, and he was an absolute force in the center of the park. For the first 10 minutes, Algeria dominated the aerial duels, they swallowed up all the secondary balls, and they just attacked relentlessly down the wings using their fast wingbacks. It made it incredibly difficult for Switzerland to transition the ball cleanly into the attacking half. Algeria even had an early penalty shot after a hard tackle, but the referee ruled the foul was just outside the box. Make no mistake, the momentum was 100% in Algeria's favor.
Section 2. The Counterattack Masterclass. But here's the thing about elite structural discipline. It allows a team to absorb heavy pressure without panicking. And that is exactly what Switzerland did right up until the 11th minute. Totally against the run of play, young Johan Manzambi received the ball out on the left flank. He instantly spotted a massive structural gap because those aggressive Algerian wingbacks had pushed way too high up the pitch, leaving their central defenders totally isolated. Manzambi turned on the jets, using his electric acceleration to just blast past his marker, driving straight toward the edge of the 6-yard box. He delivered this perfectly driven low cutback that completely bypassed two scrambling defenders and found Breel Embolo standing completely unmarked. Embolo didn't hesitate, bearing a classic first-time poacher's finish from close range. And just like that, against all odds, the Swiss fans erupted. Switzerland was up 1-0.
Conceding that early goal, it completely flipped the script for the Algerian side. They basically had to rip up their initial game plan, abandon that balanced pressing style, and transition immediately into an all-out attacking formation. They knew they had to find a crack in that super compact Swiss defense, so they started committing extra bodies into the half spaces and taking far more risks going forward.
To orchestrate this new offensive push, Riyad Mahrez started dropping much deeper to dictate the game's tempo. He was out there pinging these beautiful, incisive crossfield passes, desperately trying to stretch the Swiss horizontal lines. But the Swiss central defensive duo, Manuel Akanji and Nico Elvedi, they put on an absolute defensive clinic. They tracked every single run and blocked multiple long-range efforts. Right before halftime, Mahrez actually manufactured a golden opportunity, serving up a stunning cross to Ibrahim Maza inside the box. But, because of the heavy, relentless pressure from the tracking Swiss defenders, Maza lost his balance and scuffed his hurried shot harmlessly wide of the post. So, despite utterly dominating possession, Algeria went into the dressing room down 1-0, really struggling to get clear-cut shots on target. Moving on to Section 3, the second half ambush.
Coming out of the dressing rooms for the second half, Algeria knew they had to throw the kitchen sink at this game. But right from the 46th minute kickoff, the tactical instruction from the Swiss bench was clear. Ambush them while they're still getting reorganized. Switzerland immediately launched a blistering, speculative long ball forward. And this sudden, unexpected pressure caused absolute panic in the Algerian defense. A disastrous miscommunication between Issa Mandi and his goalkeeper resulted in two totally failed attempts to clear the danger, culminating in a really weak partial clearance. The ball bounced perfectly into the path of Ndoye. Showing world-class composure, Ndoye took just one touch to set himself and then curled a precise, low strike directly into the bottom right corner. Blink and you missed it. The Swiss had doubled their advantage right out of the gates.
Section 4, the unbreakable red wall. Now, armed with a very comfortable 2-goal cushion, the entire dynamic of the match shifted again. To protect their lead, Switzerland essentially choked the life out of the game by dropping into a rigid, highly disciplined low block. If you're not familiar, a low block is basically a strategy where a team prioritizes structural organization deep in their own half to deny the opponent any space in the final third, effectively letting them have the ball in non-threatening areas. And the Swiss executed this strategy to absolute perfection. The architects behind this unbreakable red wall were just undeniable. As the Algerian bench started throwing on fresh attacking options, tossing everything they had into the penalty box with hopeful long balls, Granit Xhaka and Remo Freuler worked tirelessly. Xhaka was out there breaking up play with clinical efficiency, earning those smart tactical fouls and slowing down the tempo whenever Algeria even hinted at building momentum. Behind them, Akanji and Elvedi were an absolute fortress, heading and clearing away literally everything that came into their airspace. And on those rare occasions Algeria did break through, like when Anis Hadj Moussa fired off a really dangerous late shot. Goalkeeper Gregor Kobel was right there, commanding his box and making vital diving saves. It was a masterclass in game management.
Now, skip ahead to the 81st minute, and Switzerland actually had a massive chance to completely put the game to bed. Fabian Rieder sneaked in behind a heavily fatigued Algerian defense. The goalkeeper was literally down on the turf. A cross came right to Rieder just 1 single meter out, and unbelievably his accidental heel strike went straight into the arms of a very grateful and probably very confused goalkeeper. It was a shocking miss, for sure, but the crucial takeaway here is that Switzerland didn't let this fluky, embarrassing mistake ruin their defensive focus. They just shrugged it off, kept their lines incredibly compact through all 6 minutes of stoppage time, and calmly saw out the rest of the game.
Section 5. Making World Cup History.
When that final whistle finally blew, it was so much more than just a win. By securing this comfortable 2-0 victory, Switzerland finally shattered that heavy ghost of 1938. Grabbing their first knockout win at a World Cup in nearly 9 decades. On top of that, this result meant they had won 3 games in a row for the very first time in their national team's history. The scenes were just incredible. Players were celebrating wildly on the pitch, while the fans up in the stands spent the aftermath jumping, dancing, and belting out historical songs. It was a legendary milestone for Swiss football, perfectly engineered through relentless tactical discipline.
But, tournament football is a game of brutal duality. On the other side of the pitch, the reality was entirely different. The Algerian players were completely heartbroken. You had guys rolling on the grass in pure disappointment after their long, hard-fought journey came to such a sudden end. Despite their heavy possession, despite their physical dominance in the opening minutes, and despite throwing absolutely everything forward in the second half, they simply could not crack the code of that Swiss organization.
And that brings us to a fascinating final thought. We just watched an Algerian team packed with flair, physical dominance, and a relentless high press get completely neutralized by a team that prioritized shape, patience, and lethal counterattacks. So I'll leave you with this question. Is structural discipline and ruthless transition the ultimate blueprint for making deep World Cup runs? It certainly was for Switzerland on this historic night in Vancouver. Thanks so much for exploring this tactical masterclass with us, and we'll catch you next time as we keep analyzing the beautiful game.